Hi, this is Dr. Thomas, and in this presentation I want to show you how to solve rational equations. Solving rational equations. First we need to find the common denominator. So we call it the LCD. Find the LCD. Now the next step is important. Be careful. What you do with the LCD is different when you are simplifying rational versus solving rational equations. So when you're solving rational equations or fractional equations, you multiply each term by the d. So you're not trying to make each alike this time. You're trying to get rid of the fraction by multiplying each term by number 1 here. Solve 3 over 4 plus 5 over 8 equals x over 12. Now, I know it's tempting that we want all of these denominators to be the same. However, for solving rational equations, we're going to find the LCD first, but multiply each term by the LCD. So what do you think the LCD is? It is 24. So let's multiply each term by 24. And if you see this LCM, some people call it the least common multiple. So you may see LCM interchangeably. Alright, 24 times 3/4. What you can do here is divide 4 to 24, which is 6 times 3. Okay, and do everything else the same way. Here 8 goes in 24 3 times 5, and then 12 goes in 24 2 times x. So what you're going to get is 18, because 6 times 3 is 18, 3 times 5 is 15, 2 times x is 2x. Notice that all of our fractions are gone. That's why we multiply by the LCD, because with an equation, as long as you multiply both sides by the same thing, it's legal to do so. So 18 plus 15 is 33, and then we're going to divide by 2 and get 33 over 2. So you're done. Done with that one. Let's try number 2. Look at this. Solve 1 over x equals 1 over 6 minus x. Now this is a fraction equals a fraction. Notice that. A fraction equals a fraction. If you have a fraction equals a fraction, always remember that that's a proportion. So what you could do is do this little butterfly effect, I call it, and cross multiply like so. Okay, if you do that, let me show you, you get 1 times 6 minus x, which is 6 minus x, equals 1 times x, which is x. And then you can solve like so. You can add x to both sides and get 2x. 6 equals 2x, so divide by 2. And what do you get? X equals 3. That's perfectly fine to do. Or you can find the LCD and multiply by the LCD. So what is the LCD? X and 6 minus x. So it must be both of these. So let's multiply both sides by x times 6 minus x. Once we do that, so see this x times 6 minus x times 1 over x times 6 minus x times 1 over 6 minus x. The x's will cancel out here. The 6 minus x's will cancel out on the other side, which leaves you with 6 minus x equals x. So doesn't that look familiar? That's the same thing we got when we just cross multiplied. And your answer is 3, of course. So the important thing to remember when solving rational equations is multiply by the LCD. Do not try to make the denominators alike. Since we have equations, we can multiply both sides and get rid of fractions. Let's try this one. What is the LCD of this equation? The only denominator we have is an x, so it must be x. Let's multiply each term by x. So we multiply both sides by x, and then we distribute, so we multiply every term by x in this problem, and we get x times x. Nothing cancels out. But in the middle, the x and this x cancels out because you have one in the denominator, one in the numerator. And we get x squared, since x times x is x squared. The x is canceled, we only have a 1 here. And x times 2 is 2x. Now, what does this look like it's forming here? X squared plus 1 equals 2x. Does that look familiar to you? It should. So whenever you have something squared, it should look familiar. When we have a trinomial that starts to form, we need to try to get everything on one side set equals 0. We do that by subtracting 2x from both sides. And then, what must we do? We must factor now. We get x minus 1 times x minus 1 equals 0, and set each of these to 0. And we get x minus 1 equals 0, x equals 1. And since that's the same factor, you don't have to do it twice. Your answer will still be x equals 1. Let's try another one. You have x squared over x plus 2 equals 4 over x plus 2. Again, you can multiply by the LCD, or you could do the cross multiplication. Let's multiply by the LCD. Since both of these are the same, we can just go ahead and get rid of it by multiplying by the LCD. The LCD is x plus 2. So if you multiply the left side by x plus 2, what cancels? X plus 2, of course, and also on the right side. What remains is just the numerators. So x squared equals 4. Again, we have something squared. Two different ways you could do this. I recommend putting everything on one side and then factoring. So we get x plus 2 times x minus 2 equals 0. Notice that you have two answers here. Now if you would have done the square root of both sides here with this x squared equals 4, most of you would have just had one answer because you would have forgotten about the answer negative 2. So the answer would have been x equals plus or minus 2, but most students leave out the negative answer, so that's why I recommend that you put everything on one side if you see that your degree is 2. Now notice what happens if you plug in negative 2 into your denominator here. Notice that you plug in negative 2 plus 2, you get a 0 in the denominator. So that's why they say that negative 2 is an extraneous solution, which means that it's an extra solution that we got that does not work for this particular equation. Because if we plug negative 2 into the denominators, we'll get 0 in the denominator. And as you know in math, we do not divide by 0. So let me emphasize that the only correct solution is x equals 2. Let's try this one. 1 over 2x plus 1 over x equals negative 12. What is the LCD? The LCD here is 2x. Alright, so the only way we can make these look alike is to have 2x. So that's how you know what the LCD is. Just remember, we multiply every term by that LCD. We do not try to make both of them 2x. So once we multiply both sides by 2x, we have to multiply every term, and we figure out what cancels. 2x times 1 over 2x, what cancels? Everything. 2x times 1 over x, what cancels? Just the x's. And on the right side of the equation, nothing cancels. So we have 1 plus 2 equals negative 24x once we multiply everything out. 1 plus 2 is 3 equals negative 24x, and then to solve for x we will divide by negative 24, and 3 over negative 24 reduces to negative 1/8. Alright, what I want you to do is try these problems on your own and then check your answers. I'm going to put the answers up here. You try these on your own to see if you can get the correct solutions. So pause the video, try these, and then I'll put the solutions up. So what I want to do is go to the text and try some of the problems from the classroom problem set from section 6.6. So let's try number 9, and then we'll go to section 6. Find the LCD. The LCD here, we have a 2 and we have a x minus 4, so that's our LCD. The next step would be to multiply each term by the LCD. So we emphasize multiply each term. So 2 times x minus 4 multiply times everything here, and multiply everything here times 2 times x minus 4. Then we figure out what cancels out. The x minus 4s will cancel out here, the 2's will cancel out here, and the x minus 4s will cancel out here. So what remains? What remains is a 2 times x, which is 2x, plus what remains here is a x minus 4 times 1, which is x minus 4, and what remains here is 4 times 2, because we're multiplying everything times the LCD, so this is multiplication, so it should be 8. Now we have like terms. 2x plus x is 3x, minus 4 equals 8, and then we can add 4 to both sides. We will get 3x equals 12, divide by 3, x equals 4. The only step we need to do now is make sure that we can plug a 4 into our denominators. So notice that if we plug a 4 into our denominators, we'll get a 4 minus 4 is 0. So we're dividing by 0. That does not work. So the answer for this particular problem is no solution. Alright, so this is the problem set for section 6.7. And the only difference between this section and section 6.6 is that you must factor the denominators first. So let's try number 1. X over 3x plus 6 plus 8 over x squared minus 4 equals. The first step before you find the LCD is the factor, because we need to figure out what are the common factors that will form the LCD. So let's factor 3x plus 6. That is factorable, believe it or not, because 3 is the GCL. So you take that out, you get 3 times x plus 2. X squared minus 4 is a difference of squares, so it's x plus 2 times x minus 2 equals 1/3. So what is the LCD here? We have a 3 involved, an x plus 2 involved, and an x minus 2 involved. Therefore, let's multiply everything times 3 times x plus 2, x minus 2. If you do that, we can cancel out so that we don't have fractions. So if 3's go away here, x plus 2, the x plus 2, x minus 2's go away, and the 3 goes away there. So let's see what remains. What remains is a x times an x minus 2 from here, x and x minus 2, plus 8 times 3. Let's go ahead and multiply that. That's 24. And what remains here is the x plus 2 times the x minus 2. Let's multiply all of this out. X times x is x squared. X times negative 2 minus 2x plus 24 equals, now if you multiply all of this out by foiling, you should recognize that this is a difference of squares and the middles will cancel out once you foil. So you eventually get x squared minus 4 on this end. Now we need to get our like terms together because we have an x squared on this side and an x squared on this side. We need to get this x squared over here. Notice that if we subtract x squared from both sides, the x squareds go away. That's wonderful. That means that I don't have to eventually factor because I'm going to only be solving for x. It's only going to be x to the first power left. So I would avoid factoring a trinomial. So we have negative 2x plus 24 left on the left side equals a negative 4 on the right side. Now what would you do? Since we have the x term on this side, let's go ahead and subtract 24. So we subtract 24, that cancels, we get negative 2x equals negative 28, divide by negative 2, and we get x equals 14. Now this answer should not be issued. If I plug it back into these numbers, it will not give me a 0. So therefore x equals 14 is the solution. Alright, let's try one more. Let's try number 3 here. So again, the only extra step in this section is to factor the denominators if possible. So for number 3, we will have to factor 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. Now what's interesting is that sometimes, and a lot of times, these problems, if you have a trinomial, then the other denominators could be the factors to 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. But let's act as if we didn't know that. And we had to factor 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. Let's do this on the side. So let's factor 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. We'll multiply 3 times this negative 2 to get a negative 6. And we'll find factors of negative 6 that'll give us a negative 5. Like negative 6 and 1. Therefore we have 3x squared minus 6x minus 1x minus 2. Let's factor by grouping. We get 3x times x minus 2. And this should be a plus here. We have the x minus 2 that we need. Therefore, let's take out a positive 1. Now the common factors are x minus 2. So we take that out. And what remains is just the 3x plus 1. So voila, those factors up here just happens to be the factors to 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. So let's rewrite this problem with those factors. Alright, so the LCD is obviously 3x plus 1 times x minus 2, and we're going to multiply everything times 3x plus 1, x minus 2. 3x plus 1, x minus 2, and again. What cancels? The x minus 2's cancel here, the 3x plus 1's cancel here, and everything cancels here. Great. I think some students are, I don't know, they get confused when everything cancels. That's what we want. We want less stuff involved so that we can compute less things. So that's great when everything cancels out. Now, we have 5 times 3x plus 1 left. So let me rewrite that. Then we have a minus 2 times x minus 2 left. And on the right side, we just have this x plus 1 left because the LCD and the denominators completely canceled out. So now let's multiply. That's 15x plus 5. Then we need to multiply the negative 2 times x and negative 2 times negative 2. This is what we get. Now 15x minus 2x is 13x, and 5 and 4 is 9. Now let's get this x over here with this x. In order to do that, we need to subtract an x from both sides. And we want this 9 to get on this side, right? So we need to subtract 9 from both sides. Therefore, we get, so I'm doing everything in one step. You can do it in 2 steps. 12x equals negative 8. Divide by 12. We get x equals negative 8/12, which is negative 2 maybe over 3. X equals negative 2/3. If I plug this negative 2/3 into this x, it's not going to pose a problem. If I plug in that negative 2/3 here, you can check it, but it's not going to pose a problem either. So I know that negative 2/3 is my answer. Okay, this concludes this video presentation on solving rational equations. I hope that it brought clarity to you. Always remember, multiply by the LCD if you have an equal sign in your problem, and you'll get rid of all of those fractions, which will make your life much easier. Bye.